Everyone, Bill Lethman here for MoneyEvolution.com. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about could our tax rates really double? So this is part of a video series that I'm doing all about helping you to create your tax plan for retirement. You probably have heard me talk about the 7 core elements of retirement planning. Well, creating your tax plan is one of those 7 core elements and maybe one of the most important of those elements as well. So when we talk to clients about taxes, I don't think too many people out there really feel like they're not paying enough in taxes. But when we look at things from a historical perspective, we're actually pretty low as far as our federal income taxes are concerned. In fact, if we look back, we've had some periods of time where tax rates were very high. In fact, as high as 94% at periods. And we had one stretch from 1932 to 1986 where the top federal marginal tax rate was never less than 50%. So we think we've got a pretty tremendous opportunity right now because tax rates are low, and in particular, something that happened in January of this year, 2018, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was signed into law. And so we've got about a 7-year period because those tax rates expire in 2025 where we think we can do some pretty amazing tax planning for some clients. So let's dive right in. So this is a person I want to introduce you to. His name is David Walker, and he was the comptroller for the United States from 1998 to 2008. So not necessarily the guy that you see on TV every night, not the most public figure here, but he was essentially the CPA for the government. And when he left office in 2008, he started really pounding the table. He wrote this book, Come Back America. I think he did some PBS specials out there as well. But he says that based on the fiscal path that the U.S. government is on right now, tax rates would have to double, otherwise our country could risk going bankrupt. And so this was, again, the guy that was the CPA for the government, probably has some pretty good knowledge on that. And the reason, very simply, came down to math. And he says if you look back, Social Security, we all know, is a big expense of the federal government. We've made tremendous obligations. And so if we go back to 1935, we had 42 workers that contributed to every one person that was collecting Social Security benefits. You had to wait till 65 to even begin collecting Social Security, and the average person only lived to 61. So even if you were lucky to make it to Social Security age at 65, chances are you weren't probably collecting for very long. If you turn that over to today, now there's only 3 workers that contribute for every one person that's collecting Social Security. You can collect it 3 years earlier now at age 62, and the average person is living to be 85. So just that simple math alone is why he thinks that we've got some issues here. You tack onto that the Medicare issues, and Medicare is projected to be an even bigger expense for the U.S. government, and of course the defense spending and everything else the government spends money on, that we need to kind of course correct something. And hopefully it's not going to be by cutting these Social Security benefits, because we've all put money into that. So I want you to think for a moment about the money that you have saved up in your IRA account or your 401k plan at work. If you're like a lot of people, you probably have that in tax deferred or what are called traditional accounts. And we put up here $1 million. So imagine you've got $1 million in your retirement account, or hopefully maybe one day it'll be worth $1 million. The question is that money really yours if you haven't paid taxes on it? Well, certainly part of it's yours, but part of it also belongs to the government, because the government is going to come along, the IRS is going to want their cut of it. And every year the government can change how much of that IRA account they think is theirs. In other words, they can change the tax rate. And we really don't have a lot of control over that. So this is one of the issues that we want to address with you and all of our clients, really, and try to work out some strategies that we might be able to help fix that a little bit. So we believe there's some low-hanging fruit for the government. In fact, as of March 31st of 2018, there was $28 trillion in retirement plan assets in the United States. That's a lot of money. And again, most of that money, or a lot of that money, is money that's in those traditional accounts that hasn't been taxed. So one of the things that we believe is that this is maybe some easy pickings for the government to get some extra tax revenue. Well, if we go back not that long ago, and from 1986 to 1997, there was something that we called the success tax. It was actually called an excise tax for essentially taking too much money out of a retirement plan. So from 1986 to 1997, if you took too large of a distribution from your retirement account, there was an additional 15% tax on top of the regular tax that they took out of your retirement accounts. And so that pushed people up into some very, very high tax brackets. So fortunately, there's not a lot of talk about this coming back, but these are the types of things that might be solutions for the government spending too much money. Another thing that they were talking about was eliminating what's called the stretch IRA account. In other words, having your children or grandchildren be able to inherit and continue tax deferring on those retirement accounts. So there's definitely some tax strategies that we want to look at. Again, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act present, I think, a very unique opportunity where we have a limited time to take action and start to implement some of these strategies. I put together, though, an entire case study. In fact, we'll put a link right below this video here where I go through 5 action steps using some case study data where we can help somebody possibly eliminate or reduce some of these taxes on their retirement account. So again, to get access to that, click on the link below the video. And again, hopefully you're enjoying some of the content that we're putting out there. Hit that like or subscribe button. If you think there's friends of yours that might benefit from this as well, hit the share button, and we'd love to get the word out there and make people more aware of this. So with that, hope you got some great value out of the video here today. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you back here in one of my next videos. Thanks.